WOWT6. This is Heartland Focus.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Heartland Focus. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Got a great show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about some art and really how art is really connected to food. Amazingly, I don't know how, but we're going to learn what this brother is doing out of the Twin Cities, St. Paul. Say2 Jones, welcome to Heartland Focus,
Thank
man.
you so much. Thank you, Tim.
Man, and welcome to this place we call the good life, Omaha, Nebraska.
It is.
Man, I tell you, I consider myself, Say2, an artist as well. I'm a vocal artist and I do some writing, but I just find it so amazing, interesting when you can take an art form to impact lives. And so really, what brings you here to Omaha, Nebraska, and talk a little bit about your connectivity with the Bemis Center for Contemporary Art.
Yeah, you know, I have worked in an exhibition at the Bemis Center for Contemporary Art. It is an exhibition entitled All Together Amongst Many, Reflections on Empathy. It's a multi-generational show of 21 artists that all focus in some way or another on changing the world. So the work, like my work, some of it is interactive. And so I've got a piece in there that is a collard green shrine and begins this conversation about food justice and about food sovereignty right here in Omaha.
Wow. So how do you bring such art form together to really bring home that type of message and impact, and why you think it's needed? Why are you choosing to focus?
You know, a couple things. Let me back up a little bit. You know, I describe my work as multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary. It's a word that we couldn't even say 20 years ago.
Exactly.
But there were so many folks in the African American tradition that worked in different mediums and different disciplines. One of my heroes is George Washington Carver.
Okay.
And a lot of folks don't know that George Washington Carver, I mean, we know about his work as a scientist, we know about his research in sweet potatoes and peanuts,
That's right.
but not too many folks know that he was a painter, a visual artist.
I didn't know.
And that's the thing that led him into the study of botany, because all he did was paint plants. And an art teacher said, you should study botany and the rest is history. But so I am part of this long tradition of folks that mix art and nature in some way or another. Now, I feel it's important because we need to begin to control our own food system as a part of controlling our destiny. You know, in the 70s, food even got real political. The Black Panther Party had a free breakfast program. We think back on Dick Gregory and his work around diet, and then you also the Nation of Islam. There were, and what the nation was doing with food at the same time. So food was a part of my upbringing, was a part of my philosophic foundation at that time. And so I'm just kind of continuing on in that spirit as well, and wanting folks to gain more control of our local food system.
And I guess, you know, this whole what you put in really
Absolutely.
what comes out and how it comes out. And I love this reconnecting or connecting to really earth and food. So when you think about a lot of food insecurities, really in some of your blighted areas or economically challenged areas, what's your thought? How do we get through that? How do we? I guess in some aspect, this is shining the light on some of those food insecurities.
Absolutely.
But how do we get there? Because there's we have such a giant in front of us that we call the media that drives that's driving behavior.
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, when you think back, and it's not just the media, but the media is also real complicit in our big industrial ag complex with big ag. For the last 70 years, we've gotten away from natural ingredients. And we've had food in boxes. Whether it comes from a drive-in window,
dang microwave.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Exactly. So whether it comes from a takeout window or whether we walk up into a grocery store and pull that prepackaged food out. So we have forgotten what food is. The thing that really led me into this, I live in a small neighborhood in St. Paul called Frogtown.
Okay.
My wife and I bought an old storefront 25 years ago, so we live upstairs, and my studio's based downstairs. When I open up my windows to work, I would see an endless parade of neighbors walking by in one direction and coming back in just 10 minutes with bags of groceries, knowing they had shopped at the local convenience store down the street. And looking a little bit further, all that food was in prepared packages. No fresh fruits, that is a plague in many convenience stores throughout communities that have been stressed, in particular African American communities.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that led me into this. And I would see this and I would think, well, damn, what's a brother to do?
What do you do about it? Right.
And I thought, well, we'll invite folks to dinner.
Yeah.
And so I staged...
Big old table.
Exactly. And so I staged this meal in my neighborhood, essentially curating this meal, bringing in other artists, and working for almost 2 years to do a table a half a mile long for 2,000 people, for my neighbors, and working with urban farmers, working with local chefs to create this meal and have this over-the-table conversation about food justice, about food insecurity, about food sovereignty.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what we're going to do, Situ, let's take a break.
Okay.
And let's talk about the economics. Because I think maybe on one side there's some folks say, well, it's too expensive to eat healthy. Let's talk about that, and maybe some tools that maybe we can give folks.
Absolutely.
To help in that pursuit.
Right.
Okay.
I gotcha.
Hey, we're going to take a break, and with our guests, we're going to talk and explore maybe some affordable ways that we can move into that space of being healthy and eating healthy. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, man. Thanks again for taking the time. For the ones that don't know, you're here part of this project, and that in which you're going to be providing an exhibit with Bemis Center for Contemporary Art here, and I'm world-renowned center. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, it's just, I commend them for the work they bring in and connect with world-renowned artists like yourself, and you're based out of the Twin Cities.
Thank you.
So thank you for your work. I mean, and learning more, being an artist, and just every artist come in their own way in terms of the rhythms and the beats and the harmonies.
That's right.
And you're connecting with food and really trying to bring to the forefront things like we talked about, the social injustice when it comes to foods and the insecurities and things like that. You have in this, talk a bit about what's in front of us, and just perhaps how people may, if they would like a copy of this, how they can get this as well.
Not only that, one thing, sometimes I get carried away in talking a little bit about everything.
Right.
And I'm here really to talk about this meal on Saturday.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Today.
Okay, yep.
And later, we're taping this the day before, but the meal is at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And this is all, when I've done this in other cities, I've always emphasized the local and
Okay.
how important it is. And so this piece we're calling Food Justice. It's an intersection of food and art. So this is an artistic endeavor where we're going to provide 300 meals to folks. Because of the pandemic, what we were planning as a result was to do this long table right on 12th Street in front of the Bemis Center, right near Leavenworth.
Yeah.
But because of that, we've cut down the actual meal and limiting that, but we've created 300 boxes that we're going to provide for this meal. And like I said, it's always about the local. So we are focusing on food grown, believe it or not, right here in Omaha.
Wow.
There are a whole set of urban farms, and just to mention a few, we're getting food, and I'm talking about hundreds of pounds that are grown right here. And one of the farms is called Big Garden. Another one is called Big Muddy. City Sprouts.
Yeah.
In addition, a food hub, No More Empty Pots, is participating in this. The 13th and Leavenworth Garden, it's a pop-up oasis, and they're providing flowers. They were flooded out, unfortunately,
Well, I tell you,
last
man,
month.
you could have used my personal garden. I got TLC, the garden of TLC. If you need some lemon thyme, you need some parsley, man.
Well, you know, next time we're coming to you. Now, and they're, unfortunately, because of the lack of development, it's left a lot of land in African American communities across the country.
That's true.
And Omaha is no different. And so there are acres and acres of produce that have grown right here in Omaha. Now, one of the issues when folks talk about eating healthy are the cost of those calories. You know, so there's sometimes an economic injustice applied to that food that's sold in health food stores, sold in some food co-ops, and there's a barrier of cost. And there's no question about it. But part of this is to have this conversation and to actually meet some of the farmers who might be down the street from you that can help provide those quality calories to you. You know, so that access is right there. In addition, you know, it's an economic opportunity for many of these folks, for many of these farmers. So to be in contact with these folks is really key and important.
Now one of the things when you think about just the impact of this pandemic, COVID-19, and one of the things for me, it forced me to look inward a lot more and really look at things that I can do at my home.
Right.
And so I focused in on my garden. And so I had been gardening for a while, but I really focused in on and really looked at, okay, what if the world stops?
That's right.
And where really you couldn't even go to stores, everybody had to pivot in terms of just grocery stores had to start delivering food. So it puts emphasis on how do we go back to the earth and really grow the kind of things that we can just harvest and do, start doing cannery and all those kind of things. How do we close that gap, or really this notion that it's too expensive to eat healthy? And as we look at really some of your aims and challenges of trying to bring about awareness and educate people.
Yeah, well, next time I come back, next time we do a meal, we're coming to your garden.
Okay.
That's one of the things we're going to do.
Oh, man. I better do some I got to do some de-weeding.
You know, and I, you know, in full disclosure, my I have a brother-in-law and sister-in-law that live here in Omaha.
Okay.
So my wife and I, this is my wife's brother, my wife and I have been coming to Omaha for over 35 years.
Okay.
Most of the time that we come here, we rarely leave his place.
Okay.
He has a huge garden and yard.
Okay.
He's one of the few folks, one of the few black folks I know that even has a vineyard here in Omaha.
Wow.
So there are these opportunities, and there are all of these folks that embrace the land in one way or another.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a way of connecting with each other.
Yeah.
And using that old barter system.
That's right.
We don't have a way of even connecting with the urban farms that are producing all this produce here. You know, hopefully this thing that we're doing with Bemis, Food Just Us.
I love that. Food Just Us.
You know, will be the beginning of this over-the-table conversation that we can have about this. You know, and this is a line that Just Us is a line I got from one of our great philosophers, Richard Pryor.
Okay, okay.
You know,
yeah.
who went to court and saw just us.
Yes.
You know, so that's where that came from. There,
Okay.
to really focus on us in some way.
So, how about if you read one of the poems?
I
from
will.
this here?
One of the things that I've done in
Or
all
whichever
these
one you
different
want.
places is to work with local poets to create the beginning words, that grace, and the end words, the benediction. So this is just like going to church, and words from folks that are based right here. And one poem, and I'm going to read Johnny No Good's poem, who is Omaha spoken word artist and hip hop artist.
Okay.
But Johnny is also a farmer. Johnny has been one of the forces behind the creation of the Betty Shabazz Gardens, a part of the Malcolm X complex here. But this is by Johnny No Good, and this will be what you hear closing our celebration and ritual tomorrow.
So before you read that, for the event, can people?
Oh,
is it done?
yeah.
Can people come to
yeah,
it?
people can come.
Even walk up?
People can walk up. We've asked folks to RSVP.
Okay.
And you can find out more information at Bemis Center's website, bemiscenter.org.
And we'll put that up. I think we put and so we can register. You can register, but it starts at 4.
Starts at 4 p.m.
Okay, man, I'm
on
coming
Saturday.
to get a box.
Please,
man.
please
I'm gonna
come and get a box.
Yeah.
And the boxes themselves are work of art.
Wow.
I've created about 300 small ceramic pieces, signed and dated them,
Man.
that are also this grand gift and gesture that we're making to the Omaha community.
Okay.
So let me read Johnny's work here. By Johnny No Good. What are we? Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of the all, and the seed whose fruit is righteousness is sown in peace by those who make it. So I ask, what are we? Are we merely planted seeds? Our potential predetermined? What grows is what we feed.
Nice, nice. What grows is what we feed. Wow, man, that's heavy. Well, I tell you, man, I wish you the absolute best, and you know, when you come back, please just give me some notice.
I will.
Okay? Because, because what's important with a garden, it's in my blood and DNA, because both parents are rooted from Mississippi and from the farm and Hollis Spring, Mississippi, and all that good stuff, and so my mom always been around a garden, and I've always, and I guess what I'm saying, and with what you're doing, we got to find a way back there. As
Absolutely.
part of a unbelievable. I'm a fan of Walking Dead, okay, and so I think when you think about survival strategies and tactics that you must put in place, food is one, and you can't all the time run to the store.
That's right.
You know, but
That's
you
right.
can run to your garden and grab some greens. My dad's garden, bless his heart, he just, you know, he's doing better, but he had to get some physical therapy stuff. But he has a garden, and I went out to his garden and picked some greens, man. A whole pot of greens, collard and turnips, and I'm eating them, you know. Then I picked some okra. And man, when you think about the health benefits of okra, and I wasn't smart though, say too. I picked the okra and didn't have long sleeves, man. So they got me. They got me. They got me, brother.
You know what? That's experience.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and that's the knowledge that we've lost. And that's experience that now you're going to pass on to the next generation behind us.
That's right.
We have to make sure that we link up with our parents, with our grandparents, who are in many cases first-generation farmers.
Right. First-generation farmers.
And came from that land. And as you say, these are the tools that will carry us forward. I mean,
That's right.
the Black Panthers knew that in order for our community to progress, we'd have to have good nutrition. That's simple.
And we're putting, when you look at a lot of our comorbidities and, you know, pre-medical conditions, and really the, you know, all those challenges we're having in terms of health, and a lot of it is due to bad nutrition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, those quality calories do cost a little bit more.
Yeah.
But those cheap calories will cost you more in the long run as it affects our health.
That's strong. That's strong. Well, I tell you, man, if you had, I got 30, 60 seconds for you, man. Way forward, leave us with something, man, as it relates to just your work and what we have to pay attention to mostly if we're going to get out of this craziness that we're in right now.
Well, we need to connect with the land. We need to be in positions of ownership of that land. Black farmers have lost land for the last 100 years. And we have to get back into control of that. And we have to control our communities, our urban communities as well. And begin, as you were saying, to live off that land and be able to practice these values that folks have had since time began, and that we've been cut off now. But also, just to give a little plug, you know, please come to Food Justice at 4 p.m. and at Bemis Center.
There you go. I'll be there, man.
All right.
Right on. Hey, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up with some things that's happening in the community. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Heartland Focus. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Hey, just wrapping up, you guys, I just want to really point a light at really what's going to be happening this weekend in terms of just in Washington, D.C., with the insurrection that took place January 6th. My understanding that there's going to be protesting there, really protesting in support of the folks that was arrested. That was part of the insurrection. But when you really think about it, that's, you know, what our military and folks in service fight every day for, our freedom and our liberties, you know, for all, is that they can be there. They can be there protesting. And I think where we miss is we're moving to a point of taking it to violence, taking it damaging property, physical harm. That's when it's wrong. We have a right to protest, but we do not have the right to affect someone in a negative way when it comes to violence. And I think when you look at what took place January 6th, that was just wrong. They had a right to be there and protest and really air and voice their concerns and disagreements all day. That's what we wake up every day to do. That's what this democracy is all about. We have to stop that craziness. And we got to stop letting fear lead the day, because fear will drive us insane and drive us to tear up each other. We got to stop. We got to stop that. So that's all I have for this episode of Heartland Focus. Make today the beginning of your best year yet. Go out there, hug somebody, do it safely. Do your dance to your beat. Don't let nobody tell you how to move or groove. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Until next time, take the time to be good to yourself. It makes it so much easier to be good to others. I appreciate you. Be safe out there.